Hello again, Gooners. It's part 2 of what we were talking about earlier. I'm going to waste no more time because the computer turned itself off. The computer did say no.
Previously on this vlogcast.
Which I actually said during that last
no.
vlog.
That's
I
right.
said computer said no, and it actually did.
No, and it did. It went.
Yeah, it cut off. Right, we were in our prime. Well, I was anyway. Where was I? I wasn't in my prime at all. I was in the wrong piece of paper. And now I've turned it round, and here we are talking about the team of people that make decisions about transfers, why it takes so long. You were going to tell me about the quickest ever transfer. Do not steal my thunder, and I think you're going to. But go on.
I'm not going to mention Clive Allen at all.
Good.
I think that, to be honest, transfers can take literally a matter of hours. You know, players don't know that they're going somewhere. Birmingham City getting a brand new midfielder player that they've been working on for a month or two, and they didn't think they're going to get him. Suddenly he's there, and the next thing you know, they want to unload a guy, and boom, hello Stoke City. And the other guy you want to put him 3 hours later, fax has gone, blah blah blah, midnight. Yeah. I'm sure that transfers can be done, and have been done in a matter of hours.
And what about Peter Odemwingie? Do you remember that? When he turned up at QPR and QPR didn't manage to finalise it, and he had to go back to West Brom. You shouldn't laugh about these things, but it was quite amusing.
And it was.
I felt a bit sorry for him as well.
You did, didn't you?
I did.
No,
I mean,
not really because he's on 50,000 quid.
I know, but I still felt sorry for him because he really felt that was going to happen. So that goes to show that transfers don't need to take this long. Okay, it didn't go through in the end, but then look at. I mean, I don't know which memories you've got, but I'm thinking of Andre Santos. I think that happened pretty quickly. I think, as far as I'm aware, Arsenal got a call. You might want to have a look at this guy. He hadn't done his research. He didn't work out, as we know.
Well, he obviously didn't do enough research, did he? That's why it was a quick one.
But he needed to strengthen. He realised he needed to strengthen and quickly. He didn't have any more time to do so. So he brought in Park as well.
So, quickly.
Too young Park. That didn't work out either.
He got the wrong Park, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, Mikel Arteta, I don't know how long that had been brewing for. I don't suspect it had been brewing that long. But when all those transfer day deadline deals were done, I suspect those deals were finalised pretty quickly on the day. Not all of them, but I suspect, there was about 5 deals done that day by Arsenal, and I suspect 3 of them were done within hours of them saying they're interested. So deals were done.
So transfers definitely having to take a month or two. It's complete twaddle.
So yeah, this idea that usually takes between 6 to 12 weeks, or could be double that, and the quickest ever, 1 week, we both say, no way. We dispute that. But would you dispute this fact? Arsene Wenger was asked the question, is there a market for Japanese players in Europe? And he replied the following, which is paraphrased by me. It is a dream for a manager. If you tell him, you're talking about a Japanese player, if you tell him to run 10 laps, he starts running before you finish your sentence. In Europe, you have to convince the player to run 10 laps. I don't know. Maybe you don't convince them to run 9, but 10. They go, no, that's a bit too far. Why should I do it? There is an element of that amongst European players.
And
nearly more. There is an element of that amongst European players.
I'm not sure I like your French accent.
Well, what is wrong with my French accent? It's outrageously French.
Oh, it's why do you think I have this outrageous accent, you silly knicket?
Yes, I know I'm not knicket, but anyway, what do you make of that? Do you think there is... I mean, the market for Japanese players in England isn't as great as you would like, is it? When you think Shinji...
No, the problem is the old, which has just been reconfirmed by the FA and the Premier League, of course, is that the player gaining the work permit from outside the European Economic Community, or whatever it's called, has to have played in 75% of the national team games that he was eligible to play in.
Unless you're an exceptional talent.
For the last 2 years. And then, unless, and there's all sorts of things that, say, okay, maybe this guy can add something to the game, or he's an exceptional talent, which of course Miyechi got his visa on too.
Apparently it's very much down to the JFA, if that's what they're called.
Or how much you pay the lawyers, and how much the lawyers pay whoever that matters.
No, they wrote, this guy is absolutely exceptional, and take our word for it, and luckily for Arsenal...
And someone like Kakitani, who's just scored 2 goals for Japan against Korea,
clearly looks exceptional.
Is exceptional. And I would love to see him at Arsenal, or any team in the Premier League. Kiyotake as well, whose shirt I moved. Sorry. Yeah. Kiyotake is rumoured to have interested Aston Villa. They cost less than €2 million last year to go to Nuremberg, who recently thrashed Leeds United 2-0, by the way.
Are there any other players that Arsenal should be looking at in Japan? I'd say Kakitani, obviously, but they've looked at him before and decided.
What are they looking? I mean, what do they need?
They didn't like. I tell you what,
midfield
one of the things.
Get injured?
One of the things on this list that hasn't really. Well, I suppose it comes under psychological profile, but one of the things they didn't apparently like about Kakitani, allegedly, was the fact that he wasn't in his early days one of those players that just wants to play football and nothing else. He actually had a life as well. Apparently, he doesn't now. Not that kind of life, but but. Apparently now he's knuckled down and he is just the consummate professional.
He was
which
farmed
is why
out.
I think he went to Vortis, right?
They farmed him out and he knuckled down and he got exceptionally better.
Yeah, and now he's
like a
bruised.
star.
And I certainly would like to see Arsenal, if Arsenal are going to go down this route of bringing in Japanese players. See, the question begs itself, why have Arsenal not signed more Japanese players? If Arsene Wenger is waxing lyrical, is he just doing it for media, for the media only? Because why else has he not signed any more? Because he only had two.
What do you think Arsenal need right now, and what position needs filling? Centre back?
Not particularly.
Centre back is the place that Japanese players are lacking in.
Yeah, so
the national team is lacking in. I mean, Mr. Yoshida at Southampton is the best of the bunch, perhaps.
Yeah, I suppose I would say goalkeeper. And clearly, I would have, as much as I like Gonda's my favourite goalkeeper, but is he better than Szczesny? I'd say I'm not too sure he is. Probably not. He's not overly tall, is he? About 6'1", probably Gonda, 6'2", perhaps.
Japanese need a tricky attacking midfield winger type player. Well, we've already got Walcott,
exactly.
Chamberlain, Miyachi.
So the players that we need are not. I mean, defensive midfielder. Is there a defensive midfielder that's his sort?
Takahashi is the man that everybody's talking about, including Manchester United last year.
Okay.
He's been in the national team squad for about the last 2 years, almost every squad, and he's played the least number of minutes than any of the other players. He's had about 20 minutes in 2 years. He played one game last week in the Japan second team, or in fact, to be honest, it was the third team. But the next game, he wasn't playing again. But he's a classy defensive midfield player that you don't see so often. It's like, oh, was that him? He doesn't come sliding in to tackle someone. He can see ahead. He can make the tackle that he needs to make because he's already seen the next move. So Takahashi, who was featured in JSoccerMagazine as one to watch a couple of issues.
And will his club sell him?
For the right money, I think they would not stand in his way. That's the problem.
Right money would be what, £5 million?
I think just only a couple of million euros would do it nicely, depending on how long his contract is.
Well, that sounds like an Arsenal kind of deal. A couple of million euros.
Hideto Takahashi, one to watch. A classy defensive midfield player. Not the hard man.
Yeah,
but one who hasn't got injured very often. Hello, Abu Dhabi. So we'll see.
So that would be your tip to the top if Arsenal did get round to making a move on the transfer front.
Look at Cerezo Osaka, who held Manchester United to a 2-2 draw last week. Man United scored in the last kick of the game as well. They were without Yamaguchi, good hard defensive midfielder, Ogihara, another good defensive midfielder, and Kakitani. They were without those three. And then you think about it, Kagawa, Kiyotake, Inui, who's also in the Bundesliga now, 6 very good players from the last 2 years of the youth squad in Cerezo.
Do they count as a platinum generation as well?
Platinum generation. I mean, something in the water at Cerezo because not even mentioning those guys, the 18-year-old guy called Minamino just arrowed a ball from 25 yards into the corner, and suddenly he's on the radar of Man United. Sugimoto, I mean, this Cerezo Osaka. The problem is the agents are too strong. The players are being pushed out a bit too young and coming back if they have to. So I would say Kakitani. I'd love to give him another year or two in Japan and then straight into the Arsenal team. Or a year or two in the Bundesliga, but then he'll cost more to get to Arsenal.
I just like the way he took that first goal against South Korea. Don't think he could beat that. But then again, as you said, Arsenal don't particularly need to strengthen that position, so perhaps Kakitani will not be joining Arsenal. But one other thing that I found interesting about Arsene's comments, the ingredients of a winning team, and he said you need the following, which I don't think is addressed necessarily. A good goalkeeper. Yeah, well, Szczesny's good on his day, but he doesn't have 9 out of 10 days at best are going to be good for him, at best. And then defense. I think the defence is all right. You may disagree. I just think the goalkeeper. Well, once Szczesny's sort of gets more consistent, he may well be the answer. But right now, I think he needs a bit more competition than Fabianski.
They need a body defence. Body.
Yeah.
B-A-W-D.
B-A-W.
Bold, Adams, Winterburn,
Yeah.
Dixon.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
defense,
yeah.
you know?
But again, if you had a not such a good goalkeeper behind them, how good would that defence be? I think goalkeeper is key to it, and I found it really interesting that because I thought Arsene doesn't really care about goalkeepers at all. So the fact that you mentioned that was a bit of a
Bring
shock.
back Bob Wilson. That's what I say.
Yeah, or even Lehman, some people would say.
Who-
Seaman certainly.
Yes, but we won't talk about that.
No, we won't. And what about a quarterback and a receiver? And
Yeah,
this
I
is
like
very
that.
interesting that Arsene Wenger used these
I think
terms
he got a
apparently.
bit confused there, didn't he?
Yeah, passer and a goal scorer. He said.
Well, you know, he's right. Quarterback. And
He only said you need one of each.
you only need one.
One passer, one goal scorer. What if one of
You
them
only
gets
need one
injured?
Fabregas and
Yeah.
one Henry.
So right now in this Arsenal team, I'm trying to think who. I'd say Arteta's the best passer of the ball, but he's playing too deep.
Yeah.
So you miss out on some of those through balls.
Yeah, that's
because I think Ramsey, I think he's a good player, but he's a bit hit and miss with his passing.
Wilshere?
He probably improved. Oh yeah, Wilshere's pretty good at passing. Can't deny that. But there's a lot of players who are much of a muchness. They all seem quite similar in style. There's no balance in the
You
team.
got to hope that they will be the sum of their parts.
Oh,
and
yes.
more, eh?
And then some people would say there's not an out-and-out goal scorer the way there was when Robin Van Persie was there. But then you come back to that whole idea about a team being the sum of its parts, or a bunch of individuals. Yes,
we're all individuals.
So yeah, so he said you must not have a weak position in your team.
Oh dear.
So putting the question back to you, which are the weakest positions in Arsenal's team? Or are there none? As Arsene may well be trying to claim.
Well, is centre-back your weak position at the moment?
I'd say
Will
not.
Vermaelen be back? Is Mertesacker as bad as his name suggests?
No. I mean, I know you've said you broke down his name into two parts.
Mertesacker.
Meaning,
Let's not go into
meaning sort of brown things that perhaps float under certain conditions. It sounds very scientific. And the Saka being, what did you say, a shovel?
Bag.
Yeah, I think I heard that somewhere. Anyway, I don't think he's as bad as that, and I think he's actually a pretty good player, as his number of caps for Germany indicates, and also positionally I think he's strong. He's good in the air, clearly. He's not good on the turn because he's not fast.
Vermaelen,
but
I like
he complements whoever he plays with.
Okay.
Where, apart from Vermaelen, I don't think he complements him that well, but I think
No,
it's great with
I'm
Koscielny.
not complimenting you, Frank.
Sorry to
Koscielny, I mean, he's a funny-looking guy, though, isn't he?
He looks a little bit like a comedian, was it? Phil somebody or other. Can't think.
Like one of the Muppets, you know, those guys that stand in the balcony shouting abuse down at us.
Yeah, he definitely looks. He could have a career in comedy. People were laughing when he was making comments in Saitama, and he said it's not funny, but and kind of shut people up a little bit. The reason he had this comic pause before he replied, so people thought he was trying to be funny, and clearly he wasn't.
The problem was that
the
my daughter was watching the football, and they had this close-up of Koscielny, and she started crying. You know, it's just not.
Oh really? Yeah.
But the same thing happened with Phil Neville at the Manchester United game.
My daughter called Sanya somebody from Greek mythology.
Really?
Yes, because of his haircut. But I can't remember which one it is. Oh, Medusa. She calls him Medusa. So we've got Medusa. We've got Phil. I like to call him Phil the comedian.
Filthy Phil.
Yeah, and then we've got the shovel.
The shovel.
The poo shovel. And then and left back Kieran Gibbs. Good old Englishman. He's playing really well if he stays injury-free.
Just a minute, there's an Englishman at Arsenal?
Oh, yes.
Whoa.
We've got quite a few now. We've got the Ox. We've got a lot of talent at Arsenal, but the problem is utilising that talent in a balanced side. And one of the things missing from all of this, ingredients of a winning team, I'd say a balanced side. Having wingers that play on the wing as opposed to cutting inside constantly. Organisation, that didn't come up as far as I can remember from that article. Those things, to me, encapsulate a winning side.
How do you fancy Arsenal playing three at the back?
Don't fancy it at all.
Three at the back, and utilising the likes of Oxlade-Chamberlain, Walcott and Miyachiro as wide men on the midfield of five.
Once you've got three at the back, you've got to start defending more as wingers, and that's not their forte. I mean, Rio is prepared to do it. Do you remember how deep he was in one of the games, I think, possibly the second game, and he was there. His first touch of the ball was a back pass, and I thought, well, what is he doing so far back? But his confidence
He was doing as he was told.
well, perhaps.
And he was working hard.
But who's he listening to? He's listening to 10 of the outfield players plus the manager.
And Bold as well, who's
yeah.
shouting there like,
So
like,
Paul,
like nature.
He can't. He simply can't please everyone, can he?
And the problem is he doesn't understand what they're talking about either.
But he puts the team first, which everyone likes. So he's obviously likeable, and I want him to do well. But it's very much a volume for me. I don't know what.
Anyway, what was the question?
So I think I'm getting to the point where I'm about to say sayonara and away and all the rest of it, which I'll do at the end of it. Anything else you'd like to say on the team? No.
This is technically a part 2 podcast, isn't it? And you got the Maya Yoshida magazine there, haven't you?
Yeah, I've got that. So you want to publicise that before we go? And there's Arsenal stuff in it.
There's your latest JSoccerMagazine, but this was the one I was actually offering everybody in the last podcast. So we'll continue that with. Get yourself a free PDF of JSoccerMagazine, issue 7, with Maya Yoshida on the front, if you tell me what the player's name is on the front of this magazine. Oh, what a giveaway. Yeah. So tell us at alan@jsoccer.com, ALAN@jsoccer.com, who is on the front of this magazine, and you can have a free PDF. Send us an email, alan@jsoccer.com, ALAN@jsoccer.com. Follow me on Twitter, @JSoccerMagazine, and just generally be a nice guy, like Joe.
Yes, and tweet me on Joe Broadfoot. Is that it? Did I express that in the right way?
Yeah. Follow me on Twitter @Joe Broadfoot.
And of course the Loose Cannon, and of course espsoccer.com. What else can I say other than hope you've enjoyed it?
Kit Kat and Coke for sponsoring today.
Kit Kat, Coke, Kit Kat, and that's another way of saying goodbye and away.